Back here on Busted Open, Dave LaGreca, Mark Henry, and so pleased to have the front man of Fozzy, the man behind ChrisJerichoCruise.com that we're definitely going to talk about on today's show. And of course, your IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the one and only Chris Jericho. Chris, how are you, man?
I'm excited to be here. You know, like I said, always great to see my old friend Mark Henry, and good to see you too, LaGreca, from time to time. But yeah, man, I was driving over here from JFK and in the traffic, and man, Mark, you Sexual Chocolate, you have those smooth jazz tone in your voice. Smooth jazz, yes, Mark Henry.
I was just saying, like in high school and college, I wanted to be the guy in the Midnight Storm. Yeah. Hello, ladies. How are you doing?
This is Gladys Knight and the Pips right here.
Gladys Knight and the Pips. I'm no Pip.
No, man, it's always good. You guys had a good conversation, and I really enjoyed it, and it's always good to be here.
Yeah, we're excited, and hopefully we're going to do something with you, too, because, big fan of Talk is Jericho as well. We were trying to think of a subject for the podcast with the three of us, and I always like putting different people together. Like, this is a great mix of guys, and we decided we're going to do a podcast about Madison Square Garden and all of our experiences there, because you guys kind of spurred off the discussion. So I think it's Mark's been there many times. I've been there many times. You've been there many times from a fan standpoint. Sure. I've been to concerts there. I grew up there when my dad was playing with the Rangers. So I think there's a lot of great stories to be able to tell between the three of us.
Man, that still like trips me out when I see prodigy kids. Like, your kids come from somebody that was in sports or in music in the arts or something like that. And people would think, oh, well, it's easy because they had their dad or they had their mom. It's completely the opposite. When you come from a professional athlete or a professional entertainer, it's harder because the expectation on you is great. And so when you do see people that are prodigies or a person
second generation, third generation,
they had to work their ass off to get there because they had people hating on them, and the expectation for you being great was too much. So like, you had to persevere stuff. So like, to see you come, your dad being a Ranger, being a professional hockey player, and then you come in and be a professional and compete at the highest level in the same building, that had to be gratifying for him.
Because I wasn't a good hockey player either. I played, but I wasn't very good at all. So, and not that my dad ever pushed me or pressured me, but I remember like the second year of high school hockey, I got cut from the team, and I remember the coach saying, "Geez, we thought Irvin's kid would be a lot better than he is." So
bastard.
I know his name was Mr. Lindell. Hey, Mr. Lindell.
Mr. Lindell, you're a bastard.
Yeah, suck it, Lindell.
Suck it. Who's on the air now?
Who's on the air as the IWGP champion, Lindell. But the point being is that there's a lot of I always felt bad for. I mean, there's certain guys you look like Randy Orton or Roman Reigns or The Rock. These guys are natural, great performers. But the other side of the coin is when you get the David Flair, those type of guys. It's hard to follow in that shadow, and you got to be just as good, if not better than your father or even grandfather before you. For example, like we're talking about The Rock, great performer, Randy Orton, great performer. Their grandfathers were in the business.
Hall of Famers. So
not only is it your dad, it's your it's the whole family lineage, any of the Hart family, all those guys. So I always feel for those guys that don't make the grade, because there's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations for you. So I know you're trying to ask something, LaGreca, so be a journalist for God's sakes.
No, I was actually just going to say that your topic for your show is much better than what Mark and I came up with.
What did you guys come up with?
I came up with boo hockey. Because
Boo hockey,
because you're a big hockey guy and Mark and I aren't really big hockey fans, so I was thinking boo hockey.
Jeez, you'd be better off talking about bukkake.
Boo hockey.
That's what I thought he was talking about.
I didn't even comment. I just over here mum's the word on the radio.
Well, no,
you're supposed to be talking, but I'm not saying anything.
Mark knows me well enough to know that Jericho will think of something. Trust me, he got it.
Actually, you know what we actually came up with? because we're racking our brain. We're thinking music. We don't really like the same kind of music. Movies. I love horror movies. He doesn't like horror movies. So I said
nightmares.
I said TV shows. What TV shows do we both like? And we came up with MASH. And we're like, MASH. And Alan Alda is at SiriusXM. He's in the
wow.
Hawkeye Pierce is in the studio.
That's why I love coming to Sirius, because you never know who. Last time I was here, I saw Dan Rather. I took a picture with Sean Lennon and a girl. I thought it was his girlfriend. Afterwards, I realized it was Keith Richards' daughter. So I had a picture with Sean Lennon and Theodora Richards at the same time. You never know who's going to be here. We need to go find Alan Alda, track him down, and get him on our podcast about the Madison Square Garden.
The last time I walked in the studio, Gene Simmons was standing up there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to go say something. And I walked by and I chickened out. I was like, hey, how you doing? He was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, hello, Mark. How are you?
He's a big dude, man.
He's huge.
We had him on. He actually, when Bully was hosting, we had Gene Simmons as a guest on the show.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, man, that's big.
Gene gets wrestling.
He comes to the show.
He wanted to come on.
The original plan for when they had the Kiss Demon in like 98, 99, who was Bryan Adams and then Dale Torberg, Gene's overall vision was to have a Star Child character, a Catman character, and a Spaceman character, and then women as well. He wanted all Kiss guys and all Kiss women, but then the Kiss Demon got over like a fart in church, and that was the end of that one.
But actually, I remember in 8th grade, Sister Catherine gave us a homework assignment. We had to have do an essay on 5 people. If you were having a dinner party, who would be the 5 people you invite to the dinner party, dead or alive? Now I put Jesus, who's very hard to book, Rod Serling, who has passed away back in 1973. But the other 3 people that I had in that essay, I've had as guests on Busted Open.
Who?
Gene Simmons, Alice Cooper, and Ric Flair.
Nice.
All have been guests on Busted Open.
Not bad.
Pretty damn good group of people.
Yeah, that's a
not
good
bad.
group.
Right?
You start talking about music. So I'm in LA, and I'm just listening to the music that's in this building that I was in, and there was a Sirius building and doing the show out there. A music match, the song, because I'm liking the song, and it's Judas.
Nice.
And I was like, oh shit! It's Chris.
Oh, so you heard the song, so you put your phone up to find out what it was?
And it was you.
Wow, there you go.
So I was telling Dave, because it sounded at first like a wrestling theme. The beginning, it was like, and then it went in, and then you started singing, and it turned into a rock song. It's not the music that makes music rock. It's the singing combined with that energy that makes that. You get that feeling like that.
You know what's cool though is mentioning that when I started with New Japan, I've done 2 matches with them, and I wanted to use Judas as the theme because we've been trying to go to Japan for years, and it's Japanese, as you guys know, is very strange to where I think personally you can't be a wrestler and a singer, so we're not going to book Fozzy. We'd rather have you there wrestling wise. Sooner or later we'll go there, but I was like, if I come to the ring to my song in the Tokyo Dome, that's 50,000 people that at least will know this song. And to walk to the ring with that tune playing was pretty damn cool, man. That's my song.
That's awesome.
With, our band in the Tokyo Dome, and then in the Osaka Joe Hall, another sold out arena, like down, 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 down. It was just very, very powerful and a very cool feeling to be able to do that.
So you got 2, it's the ultimate feeling to me in pro wrestling is when your music hits and you walk out into the arena and you're going, and the other feeling is after the match is over, all the creative juices are flowing and you're thinking, man, I should have done this, or I could have done this, or next time I'm gonna do this, and you to be able to have a song that you wrote, that you perform, playing at the same time, I would probably pass out. It'd be too overwhelming.
Like you said, it was a double whammy of adrenaline and this feeling of like you mentioned. And it's very important to have the right ring music, because to me, it's like when you put on your ring gear and you get ready to go, when that music plays is when you become the world's strongest man or Y2J or the Alpha or whatever it is that we're going by. And that music has to be right. So for me, for years to use Break the Walls Down, like that to me, okay, that's Jericho time. But this is the first time I've used another song since that time. Vince would never let me change the song. I tried a few times. No, it's got to be, this song is evergreen. So to use another song, but that's also my song, not only am I getting into this mindset of like, here I am, like the main event of the Tokyo Dome, but conversely, it's this, hit song that we have together, which is what I'm known for, is rock and roll and wrestling at the same time. And we got to embody that in Japan. So it was a really cool buzz for sure.
What's a bigger thrill for you now? Walking that aisle to get to the ring, or being on stage and performing?
People ask that, and they also say, like, well, if you had to choose one or the other, and it's like, I don't have to choose because I've focused my entire life in making both of these work. Like Mark just said, a live show is a live show. And I find with Fozzy, it's a little bit more gratifying because it's like if people go to a Fozzy show, like you missed the Gramercy show that we had, we sold out the Gramercy. Now the Gramercy holds 750 people. Now to some people, like, well, it's to us that was a sellout show.
Yeah.
And it was a Fozzy show. People came to see our band. And to me, that was just as gratifying as performing at a sold out Madison Square Garden or Barclays Center, because I'm a part of the company that's there. It's a WWE show. Whether Jericho's on it or Mark is on it or whoever, the show is going to sell pretty well. With the Fozzy gig, it's a sellout based specifically on our band. And that, to me, is the most gratifying. That's the funnest part. A live show is still great either way, but when it's a Fozzy concert and you draw a good house, and conversely, when it's a bad house, you feel extra pressure because that's our name on the marquee.
And it's what's funny, Mark, is that I've become such a Fozzy fan because I really do love the music. It bothered me. It really physically bothered me that I couldn't be at the Gramercy that night to see that show, because that was the same time as WrestleMania in New Orleans. It was
a couple of days before
WrestleMania. So
it's
like, you got to be kidding me. Like, But I really think, and you have to, Mark, the next time Fozzy comes around, you and I have to go to the show, because there's nothing like you said about the music and the power of the music. But to have a true great rock band, you have to have a true great frontman. And I think Chris is that great frontman, not just because what he can do vocally, but what he's able to do on stage, because it is about entertaining at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, you use when I first started wrestling, I wanted to be like the ultimate rock and roll frontman in the ring, like a Paul Stanley or a Dave Lee Roth or Freddie Mercury, any of these great frontmen. Take those qualities and put them into a wrestling character. And then once Fozzy started, I took the same qualities that I was using basically as Y2J that I'd stolen from rock and roll and put it back into the frontman. Like, you have to be the party host. You have to dictate the ebb and flow of a crowd. It's the same thing you do when you're wrestling. You really have to make sure that people are getting into the match, or into the show. And if they're not, you have to make some changes quickly as to not lose them.
Taking us back from break, and we have the G1 special on in studio from the Cow Palace. Amazing show, but watching this match right now, what the health could be, broken neck.
Yeah, we're watching Hiromu versus Dragon Lee, and I love these guys, and there's so many great performers in New Japan. It's so exciting to be working there, but they still have a tendency, and this because Hiromu might have a broken neck, to do these one or two very dangerous spots within the match. And this isn't like, Grandpa Jericho saying, listen, guys, it just doesn't add anything to the match. Like, this match here is a classic great match that would have been that way whether they did the move where, I don't even know what it's called, the move where he got dumped on his neck or not. And as a result, now you have a great performer and one of the building blocks for New Japan that might have a broken neck. And like Mark just said, if you have to get that neck fused, he could be done.
Wow.
And for nothing. For a move that meant nothing in the match.
It meant nothing. And the same identical move is what broke TJ's neck.
No, it was a different move. You're talking about the Muscle Buster.
Muscle Buster.
Same concept, but basically the point is, like, not that it matters. The Muscle Buster was the finish of the match, so you could at least justify, okay, that's why they did it. This match here with Hiromu, that move they just dumped him on his neck, it was nothing. It didn't matter whether they did it or not. And that's one thing that the guys in New Japan have to keep an eye on, because I see it from time to time. I saw it a couple of weeks ago when I think it was Ibushi and Kenny had Naito on his shoulders, and he gave him a German off his shoulders right onto his head. And the match just continues on. You got to be careful, guys. We're still human beings, and I understand fighting spirit better than anybody else. I've been to Japan 60 times. I'm the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. What I'm saying is you have to be careful with those moves because we only have a certain amount of punch cards, punches on our bump card, and when those bumps are gone, you're finished. And we don't want to see that happen, especially with guys in their 20s or early 30s that have a potential to really draw big money for these companies.
See, Dave, I told you, there's no more. I had punched out my last.
That's it. You're done.
Right.
Yeah, but you said that, and then we saw you at the Greatest Royal Rumble. So I can't believe anything you say.
Big Show's fault for getting hurt. Damn it, Big Show.
Jeez, man. Screw it up again.
Always blaming it on somebody else, Mark. You're unbelievable. All right, so let me ask you, Chris, after this, because you would know better than anybody, being able to travel in Japan and, like you said, IWGP Intercontinental Champion, after what happened on Saturday, will that change anything? Do you think they look at that and say, you know what, maybe we need to change things we do here?
I know it changes if I was working with them, because I would just say that we don't need this. It doesn't matter. It's up to the individual guys. I actually had a conversation with somebody, with Ospreay. And people were saying, he's going to be the next Dynamite Kid. I'm like, dude, you don't want to be the next Dynamite Kid. And this is what they're saying about you. So these dangerous moves that you do that don't matter, stop it. You need to be working when you're 47 like I am. Now, I did my share of crazy bumps and took my share of bad bumps. But as you get older, it's the proverbial thing. I remember Nick Bockwinkel told me in 1992 at a TV taping in Winnipeg when he was there as a color commentator, you do too much. And I remember thinking, like what an asshole thing to think. But I'm like, yeah, sure, he's just jealous because he can't do these moves. That's what you think when you're a young guy. It's Nick Bockwinkel. And now, as I'm older, Nick Bockwinkel is one of the greatest. I've modeled characters after him. He's right. So there's nothing wrong with strong style. I like beating the shit out of somebody and getting the crap kicked out of me. The match I had with Naito, I was hurting for days after, in a good way. Nothing was broken, no neck injuries, but my mouth hurt. I had cuts all over. My back was sore. You know the feeling, Mark, when you've had a great match, but it's not a dangerous feeling. It's
right.
It's you get out of bed and you're like, oh, that hurt. That's what wrestling should be. It should be stiff. It should be strong style, but not dangerous. And that's what I want to try and tell some of these guys in New Japan that have this great style. I mean, these guys are having this amazing match, but don't be dangerous. We're still human beings. We're not action figures that you can dump on your head and just get up and go, okay, what's next, guys? You have to be careful of that and cognizant of it. And I think some of the guys are starting to understand it more. If they get more guys in there to work with people like myself, they will learn. Because I won't do those bumps because it doesn't matter. It's not going to make me any more money if I do it or not.
Yeah.
And that's what this business is about, is making money and putting the proverbial asses in the seats.
At Wrestle Kingdom, we saw this. You being in that building, it really grew the attendance from the year prior to what we saw this year. Looking at the Cow Palace, and they had a respectable number at the Cow Palace. Do you feel like, hey man, if I was there, we wouldn't have seen 6,500, you would have seen a sellout?
I think so. More importantly, and this is one of the things that I've really been focusing on that's been really working, it's the subscriptions to the New Japan World. Those have gone up exponentially for the Tokyo Dome show and the Osaka Dominion show, the two shows that I was on. And that's what New Japan is working on, is building their subscription service. Yes, we want to put another 2,500 people. I'm not sure what the Cow Palace would hold. Let's say it holds 10. They did 65 or 70. Okay, we could have put another 3,000 in there easily. That's not what we're going for. That's small picture. Big picture is, yes, you want to sell out. More importantly, you want those subscriptions to go up 20, 30, 40% from the month before. And that's kind of one of the things that I think, one of the reasons why New Japan has brought me aboard. And we're not doing a lot of matches with them. I will be doing, I will be reappearing again. Obviously, I'm the champion. I won't tell anybody when. It'll be a surprise as usual. But that's something that I think that they're focusing on, is building their worldwide presence, even to the point where they have a Dutch president. Harold May is the president. He's from Holland, I believe, or the Netherlands. He's the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that's the first time ever that the president isn't Japanese, because they're not interested in just staying in Japan. They want to go worldwide. And I've always said, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Mark, if you want to, listen, you're never going to beat the WWE. That's impossible. But if you want to carve a niche out for yourself in this business, there's a marketplace for it, but it has to be different from what WWE is offering. New Japan is different from what WWE is offering. I think it has a chance to carve out a niche for itself in this market. Until they get on Vince's radar, then watch out.
You can use the template that Vince has set for international growth, though. That's the thing that people don't pay attention to. How did he build that brand? How did he take that to the next level? I remember being on the first Australia promotional tour. There was no tour in Australia at that point.
Right.
We stopped in Christchurch. We did this big promotional deal in Christchurch. Then we left Christchurch and we went to Auckland, and we did a thing in Auckland. And we once we got to Sydney, like, people were recognizing us at the airport for the 2 promotional deals that we did near them. And then we did the promotional, stuff at the football arenas. But like, it was so many people. Vince strategically knew how to get the buzz ready to go to Australia.
And also, like, for example, when you first started in WWE, I think you came in 96, maybe 96, 97. That's when I saw you at the
red,
gym
white, and blue.
in Calgary. He was training with Brett, and I saw him in the gym in Calgary. We met briefly, and he's like, I just want to do a Ricky Steamboat arm drag. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. You're 355 pounds.
You're a big dude. I don't know if you should be doing that.
But what Vince did at the time was business was down in the States in that time frame, 96, 97. So he went worldwide. And that's, like you mentioned, nowadays the worldwide market is so important. And there is a market and there is an audience for more wrestling. Wrestling's very hot right now. And New Japan has kind of got this real buzz of being something different and exciting. And a whole collection of foreigners who in this country are native guys that you can't see anywhere else. And the Young Bucks are hot, and Kenny's hot, and Cody's hot, Marty Scurll, even Jericho. It's a good group of foreign talent that are homegrown guys in this country that can make it stand out different from WWE. And that's why there's a chance for New Japan to make its mark. And like I said, you'll never come close to overtaking WWE. That's not the end game. The end game is to carve out a market share for yourself by doing something different. And I think New Japan can do that.
844-796-7874. We will take some phone calls from the nation. Plus, the gifts for Jericho when we return. Also got to get Chris's take on Brock Lesnar, because I'm hoping that at least Chris defends that IWGP Intercontinental Champion more than Brock defends that Universal title.
Already have.
Obviously, having Chris in studio, Mark, we got to talk about the cruise that's coming up in October. Go to ChrisJerichoCruise.com, and the guest list is insane for this cruise, Chris.
It is insane, and now we're starting to put together, like, we're doing Ring of Honor versus Impact. First match announced is Sami Callihan versus Marty Scurll. We got the first round of the Ring of Honor Sea of Honor tournament, which if you go to ChrisJerichoCruise.com, you'll see all the lineups and all the matches for that. I don't know them off by heart. But also, too, we're doing a live talk as Jericho with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. A live talk as Jericho with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. A live talk as Jericho with Conan and Rey Mysterio to do Remembering the Life of Eddie Guerrero. And then we're also doing a live talk as Jericho with the entire Bullet Club, which is Marty Scurll, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, Hangman, and then the Young Bucks. So, and we're still working there. We know now through watching Being the Elite that the Young Bucks are now in the Alpha Club. We're called the Bucks of Jericho, or is it Y2 Jackson? That's the name of the team. So the chances are, wink, 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 nudge, nudge, that the Bucks of Jericho will be wrestling on the Jericho Cruise as well. So that's the Alpha Club. Who will we be wrestling against? Tune in to Being the Elite this week and next week, and you'll find out the answer. And that's going to be the big main event of the cruise. So lots more stuff coming up. There's going to be more Impact versus Ring of Honor matches announced. Of course, Fozzy's going to be playing. Corey Taylor's going to do a set. King, Phil Campbell, and the Bastard Sons. I got Craig Gass is going to be doing some comedy. Brad Williams, Ron Funches, and Sal and Q from Impractical Jokers are going to be there. We're going to do Keeping It 100 versus Killing the Town, a live debate, which should be great. Anytime Disco Inferno's involved with Conan and Don Callis and Paul Lazenby and Shane Helms, there's going to be some, I'm sure, some high comedy on the high seas there as well. So I wanted to really put together the best lineup that I could. And once again, it's really cool that, Jericho this year, I wrestled in the Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm the IWGP Intercontinental Champion, and I've brought Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling together on this cruise. So I've kind of been spinning a lot of plates. But yeah, ChrisJerichoCruise.com. You're going to be there.
Yes, I will be there. And the last time I did something, you were involved and we sold the building out. So I'm going to take it personal if we don't sell this out.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it personal.
Yes. It was all Dave.
October 27th through the 31st, sailing from Miami to the Bahamas. And again, like you said, and you've said this a lot, Chris, like all these wrestlers are going to be on the cruise with you. You're not going to have to stand online for a big meet and greet. You're all there hanging out together.
And you will have a chance to meet them and greet them and take pictures. But the thing is, it's all inclusive when you book your cabin. So it's not like when you go to a wrestling convention, you got to buy a ticket to get in. You got to pay, $50 for an autograph and a signature. All of it is all included.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think people are still like, really? Like, we get to see all these matches, all these like Mick Foley's going to do his 20 Years of Hell, where he's talking about Hell in the Cell. That's kind of the tour he's doing right now. All of this stuff is all included with the cabin. And when we played the Kiss Cruise with Fozzy, I couldn't believe how cool it was and how many activities there were, that you're hanging out with Paul Stanley watching, a band play in the lounge. And that's what it's going to be like. Everybody's hanging around. It's not a sequestered area. It's a cruise ship. There's only so many places to go, and everybody is out and about. If you're eating something or if you're gambling or whatever, who knows who you're going to run into and hang out with. And I think that's the beauty of this. And my goal is to make it like the Kiss Cruise, where it's an annual destination vacation for people who love wrestling, who love rock and roll, who love comedy, all the things that I love. So it took me 2 years to get it up and running, and now we're getting closer, only 4 months away, less than 4 months away. And it's going to be the vacation of a lifetime, because I won't allow it not to be. I'll be working my ass off on this cruise. I'm also doing a Words of Jericho show, a live one-man show where I tell stories about my career. I'm marrying somebody on the cruise. Whatever it is that needs to be done.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You could do that?
Yeah. I think you guys have to fill out a form or something.
I thought you had to be like an ordained minister. I was going to say, Chris,
No, when you're in international waters, I think you get like your permit to marry somebody. Something along those lines. Somebody pitched it to me. I'm like, dude, I will do whatever it takes to sell this thing out. So, and like I said, our idea is to make this just a total blast for everybody involved. And with the amount of activities that we have and the amount of cool once-in-a-lifetime moments, I think it's a can't miss, don't miss opportunity to have the vacation of a lifetime.
This is something, Dave, that I really relish, is being around guys that have an unbelievable ability to not just be one thing. And Chris has been like at the top of that list. We talked about Cody promoting and marketing and doing his own thing and becoming like one of the top entities in pro wrestling. And Chris has been that for a long time because of wearing so many hats and knowing how to do things that are out of the box, if you will, from the standpoint of not only wrestling, but the cruise, the concerts, all of the merchandising and stuff that he's doing. Like, this is who I relish being around. And man, it's so many guys that can learn from what the knowledge that Chris is spitting right now. So hopefully y'all guys that are listening, that are wrestlers out there, like, pay attention, like, Masterclass is in session.
Well, definitely go to ChrisJerichoCruise.com, because I hope the nation is going to be a big part of what's taking place in October. And speaking of the nation, why don't we take a couple of calls before we say goodbye? 844-796-7874. Let's go out to Mike in Louisiana. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, guys? First off, big fans of all you. I wanted to touch on something about the Hall of Fame. I had the opportunity to go to the Hall of Fame last year in New Orleans, and I remember there was a clip that Chris said about if he ever made it, which I'm sure is in the very near future, about the cat calling and how the crowd gets kind of disrespectful. And watching it from a pay-per-view standpoint, I thought that sometimes it was out of respect, how the chants would go. But when I was there live, we were right where one of the girls did the interviews to the guys coming in. and watch these two drunk knuckleheads just catcall Bobby Roode and Ronda Rousey and Daniel Bryan, and kind of got Chris's point of view on that. And I was wondering if Chris Hill felt the same way if he ever makes or when he does make the Hall of Fame, if the catcalls start, if she would react to that.
Catcalls during Ronda Rousey getting into the Hall of Fame?
No, it was when when the wrestlers were being announced and they were coming out before the actual ceremony. Because I know you've been outspoken about the catcalling during the Hall of Fame.
Is you talking about the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's ridiculous because anybody that is in the Hall of Fame is there for a reason, and I just think that anybody that goes to the Hall of Fame needs to go there with respect. And why would you ever be booing or catcalling anybody? Is he talking about the guys that are in the Hall of Fame, or I guess I'm missing the concept of the question?
Yeah, I think he was talking about that. Just there were two fans that were sitting in front of him, and they're just catcalling the entire time when the wrestlers were first coming to the floor to sit, but also during the induction speech.
Yeah, you're trying to talk too, and people are interrupting.
I think it's kind of ridiculous that if you go to the Oscars or you go to the NHL awards or whatever, if you start, catcalling, you're going to get kicked out.
Yeah.
And the fact they don't do that in WWE, I think they started to, or at least threatened to do that. If you're going to the Hall of Fame, show some freaking respect. And listen, if you want to catcall the actual wrestlers because maybe a heel walks out into the floor, that doesn't bother me. I'm talking about the guys that are on stage getting inducted, whether it's Hulk Hogan or whether it's Coco Beware or anybody in between. If they're getting inducted, it's for a reason. So show some respect to them, even if you don't like them or they weren't your favorites. Don't just hold your tongue and be happy that you're involved and that you're allowed to be there.
You still got it is all right.
That's fine. Yeah, or one more match or whatever. Be positive.
Yeah,
be positive with it.
And if you don't like that dynamic, just don't go. I mean, to me, I love
it's a long night anyway.
The Hall of Fame ceremony is fantastic.
That's right.